and Caledon Local 21. Two women lived there, operating a daycare business. How ironic. Now, to answer the questions you guys emailed to me. Question: who else watched Caledon Local 21? I know other people watched it for sure, including those kids who wound up at Mr. Bear's house. After some Google searches, I found a few people on NeoSeeker forums who were discussing the shows from Caledon Local 21. They talked about the kids' shows I watched, but also two other shows I had never seen before. A user named I Am Real Life seemed to know all the shows that were broadcasted on Channel 21. Here are two I've never heard of: The Fallen Angel and Life. I Am Real Life described it as a fairly boring show about a guy rambling on and on in front of the camera about how we must please Satan and appease him before it's too late. Paint with the Soul. I Am Real Life and another guy called Siggy92 were discussing this show. They described it as Blair Witch-like, as it consisted of a cameraman wandering around a forest at night, doing nothing particularly interesting. I'll go looking for the conversation and see if I can get the link. Question: where is Mr. Bear, or the guy who wore the costume? If I did know, I would have said earlier. I have no idea where this guy is, if he's dead or alive. Hopefully dead. When I see my dad's friend next, I'll tell him about this. Maybe I can get a more definite answer. Question: what did Mr. Bear do to the children? This is by far the most common question I've been asked. I found this out in October as well, via my dad's friend, who is a retired Caledon regional officer. Apparently, the man playing Mr. Bear took the kids out of the house and into the forest nearby. What he did there, police are not exactly sure how it happened, but 16 charred bodies of children between the ages of 4 and 13 were found in a 15 by 15 foot ditch deep within the forest. My dad's friend did not want to go into exact details, but I'm seeing him next Thursday anyway, so maybe I can extort more information from him then. That's all I have for now. Thanks for keeping an interest in my blog. I will try to gather as much information as I can for my next post. I've actually been getting pretty interested in this myself. It should be my right to know what the hell happened. Update, 1st of February 2012. I'm sorry I haven't posted anything for a while. I kind of lost interest in this blog since I hit a standstill while looking for more information about the identity of the owner of Caledon Local 21. However, a few weeks ago, I struck gold. I found some answers, surprisingly, from the father of a kid I used to babysit. He lives just across from my street, and I used to look after his kids when they were younger. He currently doesn't have a job either. He used to live near the woods outside Caledon and witnessed the owner's activities in the woods. His name is Anthony Polo. When he lived in the small bungalow outside the woods, he would often venture in to smoke a joint or two before returning to his work as a wood craftsman. Polo described that sometimes he would hear voices of children coming from deeper within the woods, as well as glowing lights off in the distance. Polo told me that these events started in late 1997. Note, this is around the time Caledon Local 21 began airing. He apparently became annoyed by this happening every once in a while and actually went to investigate. Polo then described what the whole scene looked like when he got there. There was a group of kids, he said, about 13 to 17, and ages 5 to 12, gathering around a large fire pit with a burning fire. With them was a single adult. Polo talked to the man. Nothing is unusual, unkempt appearance of a crack addict as well as his constant twitching, and asked what he was doing out in the forest with the children. The man said they were on a camping trip. something they did frequently. Polo, not suspecting anything, Caledon has one of the lowest crime rates in Canada, simply left it at that and told them to be quieter. Polo then paused for a while before telling me that they never became quieter. In fact, sometimes he heard loud chanting from the children in an unknown language. He didn't bother meeting with the man again, as he was moving anyway. I told Polo that the man was probably the owner of Caledon Local 21, but he doubted it, as he heard that the man was moving to Pickering by several other residents near the area. Here is what I know now. The man would take kids into the woods regularly for camping. The fire pit Polo described may be the hole the bodies of the children were found in. The children Polo saw were probably the ones found dead. The man moved into a city called Pickering, a smaller city east of Toronto. I will discuss this with my dad's friend, the ex-cop, and see if this matches anything the police knew about the man. I also want to see if he has any other knowledge of what was aired on Caledon Local 21. Update, 20th of March 2012. Good news, guys. I talked to my dad's friend and he disclosed a lot of information for me. First, I asked if the police had any information on the man who ran Caledon Local 21. He replied that they only have the same leads for years and never found a suspect. However, the Peel Regional Police do have some of the tapes found in the house Caledon Local 21 was broadcasted from. He took me over so I could watch a few. I guess I haven't said much about him yet. My dad's friend name is Mitchell Wilson, a pretty nice guy. He seems to understand my thirst for knowledge on what happened during the late 90s in that house. He feels it was wrong that my dad went so long without telling me much. He took me to the Davis Road Police Station. If you don't know, it's the largest station in Caledon, and one of the largest within the Peel region itself. Each of the main stations around Peel have some of the tapes. The Davis Road Station has 3. I got to watch all of them. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to take any home for obvious reasons. Booby Episode 2. Friends Are Like Flowers. This was one of the first Booby episodes made. The camera quality looked crappier than usual, possibly an even older camcorder, but the scene was set in the same place as Bobby episodes usually took place. I recognized it instantly. The episode began with Booby swaying back and forth constantly for a few seconds before another hand entered. The other hand was much smaller, looking as if it belonged to a young child. The smaller hand eagerly began bouncing around before sliding up to Booby, bringing its fingertips together to kiss Booby. After a few seconds, Booby grabbed the smaller hand and squeezed it tightly. This continued for at least 10 seconds before the camera slowly panned left until the hands were out of sight. The camera continued panning until it showed a wilted daisy lying by itself. The camera then zoomed in on the daisy slowly as the girl's voice became audibly saying, "Friends are like flowers in the garden of life." The episode then ended. Paint with a Soul, Episode 10, Garbage Thrown Away. Paint with a Soul was one of the shows that I Am Real and Siggy92 discussed on NeoSeeker. I told the police about this and they informed me that 12 episodes of the show were made and broadcasted between December 5th, 1997 and January 8th, 1998. Exactly as I Am Real Life and Siggy92 described, the episode opened with the cameraman wandering around in a forest. It appeared to be during the evening as it seemed the sun was setting. The cameraman walked along the path until he got to an area where there was a lot of garbage laying in the leaves. The camera looked around at the various wrappers, bottles, bags and boxes, making sure each item got a few seconds of screen time. The camera then focused into a single area before the man spoke. I recall he spoke in a very timid, quiet voice, and I swear I've heard it somewhere else before, like on another Caledon Local 21 show. I could barely hear what he was saying, but he mainly talked about how humans are garbage, or something that had to do with saving ourselves by cleaning up the garbage, us. It actually sounded really stupid, but still, a feeling of dread came over me. I mean, the forest was probably where those bodies were found, right? Mr. Bear's Cellar, episode 25. When the police administrator brought this tape in, I actually said, "Oh snap," and chuckled a bit out loud. Of course, I got stares from the staff, but Wilson explained to them about my little experience with Mr. Bear and how I still kept the letter he sent me. Like the previous episodes, this one included a guy wearing a bear mascot costume. The episode began with Mr. Bear waddling over to the red cloth table with a bottle of orange juice in his hands. On the table were 16 shot glasses, as well as a small bottle that contained an unknown liquid. Mr. Bear poured an equal amount of orange juice into each glass before opening the smaller bottle and depositing one drop into the glasses. Mr. Bear then went off camera. There was some minor sounds such as shuffling, and then Mr. Bear emerged from behind the camera's location. Following him were 16 children. Some looked as young as 4, others looked like they were practically teenagers. As the children entered, the administrator commented that this is the only episode that showed all 16 victims. The kids all looked rather content, except for this one who had visible bruises on his face, and unlike the other kids, he had a more fearful expression. He also looked about 11 or 12, which caused me to recognize him. He was the kid who had asked about his sister and subsequently met an unknown fate at the end of episode 23. That one episode I was watching during July 1999. When I told the administrator this, he confirmed it was the same kid. He was also featured in episode 24, an episode that only aired once at 3 p.m. in July 1999. The police have still not found the tape. Mr. Bear then broke into song, singing about citrus fruits and how good vitamin C was for you. I could barely hear the lyrics as they were muffled by the bear mask. The kids all drink their juice, the one from episode 23 doing it rather reluctantly, and the episode ended. After viewing the 3 tapes,
on my way to work on my first night, I picked up a cup of coffee to keep me somewhat alive throughout the night. I had never done a night shift before. Driving down the roads at this hour on a Monday night, the roads were just completely dead. It was weird pulling into the empty parking lot, when normally you would have to fight to get a spot. I had been given a key, of course. Nobody would be in the building but me. Before walking in, though, I gave appreciation to how new and clean the building looked. At least I wouldn't be working in a rundown old shithole. I stepped into the building and locked the door. I found my office after about a minute of searching the building. It was the strangest office I had ever seen. There was no door, just a big opening from the hallway into the room. There were also 2 open vents on either side of the room. That was the strangest part of the room. It didn't really bother me much, though. I threw my jacket over the chair and sat down. There was a note left on the camera monitor. It was from my boss, giving a quick rundown of my job. It said that at night, sometimes the animatronics may move around the building, looking for people, since they were in fact set to interact with the customers. He wrote that I were to stay in the office at all times, and to only use my flashlight when necessary. Yada yada yada, other nonsense. It was also noted at the bottom of the note, in highlighted text, that every 10 minutes I would need to switch to cam 11 on the monitor and hold a button to remotely wind up a music box. He wrote that if the music box were to stop, it would cause a certain animatronic to become confused and start to make a mess of its surroundings, searching for the music source. Other than that, he wished me luck and to have a great night. The note gave me a good laugh, a better laugh than I'd gotten in months. It was one of the most amusing things I'd ever read in my life. Sure, I believe that the robots walked around, but it seemed so hilarious to me I couldn't find any reason to be afraid. After a few minutes of reading the paper and drinking my coffee, I remembered what the note said, to wind up the music box every 10 minutes. I didn't really think much would happen, but I decided to humor the story. I didn't have anything else to do anyway. I turned on the tablet monitor and switched to camera 11. There, a little button popped up on the screen that was labeled Music Box. I pressed it, and I could hear the sound of a music box handle being wound up. It was pretty neat, but I didn't understand why, if it could be done remotely, why it didn't just happen automatically. While I had the monitor on, I decided to check the other cameras as well. I checked camera 12 and saw an animatronic laying on the ground, in a state of obvious disrepair, with its endoskeleton parts all mangled and exposed. A weird static sound seemed to be coming from the robot. I chuckled to myself and switched to another camera, revealing the show stage where the three new main characters were standing. Freddy the bear, a blue bunny, and a yellow chicken. I couldn't remember their names at the time. I turned off the tablet and resumed reading the paper. This went on for another 3 hours, with the routine wind-up of the music box every 10 minutes. It wasn't until around 3:45 that I heard the sound of footsteps coming from somewhere outside my office. What the hell was that? I said to myself as I turned the monitor back on. I switched around the cameras, looking for an intruder. I switched to the camera viewing the stage and noticed that one of the animatronics was missing. The blue bunny was gone. Oh shit, I can't believe it. He wasn't lying when he said that the robots moved around. I grabbed the flashlight sitting on my desk and shined it down the hall. There was nothing there. Oh well, let the thing walk around if it wants to. I resumed reading my paper yet again until the footsteps came closer this time. This time, from right down the hall outside my office. I grabbed my flashlight again and shined it down the hall. There it was, the bunny, standing outside the office, looking down at me. I found this amusing and got a good laugh out of it. It's come to play, I thought to myself. I almost got up to get a closer look when I remembered that it said in the note to stay away from the animatronics. I didn't want to get fired after the first night, so I decided to leave it be. I tried to get back to my routine of paper, coffee, and music box, and eventually I heard the bunny walk away. The rest of the night, nothing happened, but honestly, all I could think about was the bunny and the amazing technology. Night 2. I arrived early the second night. I brought 2 coffees, as one was barely enough the previous night. Along with the newspaper, I brought some magazines as well. 6 hours was a long time to be sitting doing nothing. I learned that the hard way. My boss left me another note telling me that I might want to throw on the Freddy Fazbear head if an animatronic gets too close, as they will assume that I was just another animatronic. Under that, he left the names of most of the animatronics: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Mangle, and Foxy. The first hour of my shift went slow, occasionally checking the cameras and routinely winding up the stupid music box. I took that opportunity to check out the rest of the cameras I had not seen yet. I checked the camera labeled Game Area, and I could see what appeared to be a statue of a young boy holding a balloon. It could have been another animatronic, but I wasn't sure. It kind of reminded me of Pinocchio. That thing was a bit unsettling, definitely creepier than any of the others I saw. I switched around some more and found a camera labeled Parts. It was the room where they kept all the old animatronics. I could see the robots laying on the floor, partially disassembled with certain parts missing on each of them. It was like a robot graveyard. I switched to the main stage camera and saw that both Bonnie and Chica were gone. That was a lot quicker than last night. I flipped to another camera and saw Bonnie, face to the camera, staring at me. My heart skipped a beat and I jumped back in my seat and let out a loud gasp.